Masters of the Universe Revelation debuted on Netflix 2 weeks ago, and since then, a lot of people have been hating on it because it isn't like the original show. I haven't actually seen any of the original show. I tried to before going into this one, but couldn't. So I went in completely blind, not knowing anything about He-Man, and I have some pretty mixed thoughts on it. The first episode is actually pretty good. It's really entertaining with some pretty cool fights, and it's a pretty good introduction to the characters that most people haven't seen for 20 years, if you count the show that came out in 2002. But then after that, the show takes a pretty big nosedive. Episodes 2 and 3 are pretty bad, and they actually devaluate the first episode. Not a lot happens in this, and it feels pretty boring. And He-Man isn't even in these episodes, and they're just replaced with a bunch of females, which doesn't work at all. But then after those 2 episodes, the show actually gets good again. Episode 4, even though there's no He-Man in it, it's still pretty good because the story has actually gotten going, and there's a lot of stuff happening that's basically setting up the finale. And the 5th one is pretty good because everyone is trying to get back to Eternia to save the world. And Teela and He-Man have just seen each other for the first time in a long time. And there's a pretty big argument between them about him keeping his identity from them. So those episodes were pretty good, and I think they're probably the ones that I enjoyed the most because they didn't have any other episodes that devaluated it like the first episode. The story isn't really anything special. It's basically about everyone trying to save the world, and they have to go on a quest to it, which we've seen about 100 times already. And this show doesn't add anything new to that story. It's just kind of playing out throughout the entire thing, and there's not really anything about it that's interesting. Now, He-Man is barely in it, which is just really dumb because he's the main character of the original show, and he's basically sidelined for all the female characters to get some spotlight, and it was a very bad choice to do that. Because if they wanted to make a female-led show that's set in the He-Man universe, they already had She-Ra on Netflix. So it didn't really seem necessary to make this show if their intention was to make it a female-led story. On top of that, the female characters don't work in here at all. They're pretty boring in here. They don't have a really big personality at all, and they basically just hinge on them being friends with Adam, and they don't fit in this story, at least not being the main characters. And the pacing is really weird in here too. This feels too short and also too long. It's only 5 episodes, which are just a bit over 20 minutes, and it doesn't feel like much happens in the span of it. But because most of it is also pretty boring, it feels pretty long too. So it basically feels too short and too long at the same time, which doesn't mix well at all. But if they go the way that I think they do, and that is with Adam back and them having to stop Skeletor from ruling over Eternia, then I think that part 2 would be pretty good and I would watch it. But if they go the route that the part 1 did, I don't see a bright future for this rest of this show at all. And in the end, I can only give Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 1 a 6 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to have more videos up, so check out those. Also, you can check out my second channel, Nerd Nation Vlogs, in the description. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!